And welcome back to MATTO'S Box Mania. Forget COVID. Forget climate change. Forget Strictly Come Dancing. It's MATTO'S Box Mania. The most exciting thing in my world anyway. Oops. Bum bag. So, I haven't done Box Mania for 6 months. I have another session. What we got for you today? We have got Istanbul, the long-awaited Istanbul. Let me just make sure that, because I knocked the camera, that everything's okay. Everything is a-okay. Hello, whoever's watching. Robin, Maggie, you're watching. Right, Istanbul, long way. I've been wanting to make this one for ages. I made another one. I'll put that video up, and there's an old video I still need to put up. This is Istanbul. This is the big box of Istanbul. It was a pig to do. Really difficult box to make. But I'll just go over, I'll show the box, go through the thing, and then I'll talk in detail about all the stuff afterwards. So people can look at the box and then go. So, this is what we have. I don't know if you can see that Istanbul, that's the cover. That's the cover of the base box. I got a printout from someone who sent me a printout, very helpful. I think they're a lady, German. Very nice person to give me the printout of the box, because these are the sides from the big box. Because I didn't like the big box. I found it very soulless. I much prefer this one. So I'm delighted I got that. I found it really hard to chop that up and put that on this and make it look nice, because it's a square and this is a rectangle. It would have looked a bit rough. This looks brilliant. But you can see the amount of space that I've saved. You know, it might not look much, but when it's on the shelf, this is the bit on the shelf that you see, and this is the bit on the shelf that you see if I had the big box. And that's the space that's available. And I'm using up a third of the space of that. I get 3 of these boxes in the space-wise for the same that I get for 1 of these boxes. 3 games to 1. Lovely. I'm very limited shelf space, as you may well know, or not, and so I need this. Is why I do this. Part of my love it, but to make the boxes small. So, lid off. Nice action. Rules. Nothing exciting there. So let's have a look at. Show you this. So this is all the bits for the big box that's in there. Now this was very difficult to sort out. Now what I have, now I'll go into the details. I'll just go through the box and I'll go into the details later. So let's start off. So we've got a little box here. This has got the rubies and 2 of the Dobbies and Merchant. Oh, I can't even remember what they're called now. It's not a very exciting box. I haven't even covered it. There's a little box holding that. This slots in there, and this actually holds the playing pieces in place, and it actually holds the rule book and stops the rule book from sliding around. Because it's got a little knobby on the top here that's just a little stopper, and that's where so that stops the rule book floating around. And then we have tiles. So these are the base game tiles with a couple of wheelbarrows, wheelbazzers. And then on this side we've got all the expansion tiles, plus the player aids and a few more wheelbarrows. So I've made, I'll keep the base one separate and the expansion one separate. Ideally, I would have liked the expansion stuff with the expansion tiles, but I'll get into that later. Now, what I've done is I've split this box into 3 areas. So we got the, you know, these are the base, these are the playing tiles, and that's just a filling bit. But in this section, we've got all the stuff for the base game. Here we've got the Letters and Seals expansion, and here we've got the Coffee and Mock, whatever it's called, expansion. I don't remember what it's called. Mocha and Bakshish expansion in there. Now I did that to keep it all separate. So I shouldn't sit down. So the first thing, right, we have a tray here. So I've got this tray. This was kind of, you know, based on the Zaya trays that I made. Now this is all the base game tiles and things. You got these, you know, these 4 sets of 4, you know, and little places to be able to get them out. You got your markets, you got your wheelbarrow plate bits, and you got your cards and just some extra sundries. Now, what I like about this is you just take that out of the box, put it on the table. Sure, you got to shuffle them. Sure, you got to shuffle them, and you got to shuffle the cards. But apart from that, which you got to do anyway, that's it. You're ready to play. You don't have to search for these and order them. They're all in order. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5 for each colour. So you just put that out, bang. It's alright, isn't it? Orderly. Next tray. Now, I'm not overly happy with this tray. This was the playing pieces and the money. Not overly happy with this because I would have preferred it to have each of the playing pieces colours in a separate little box. So when you come to play the game, you say, there you go, there's your pieces, and it's really quick. This is a bit awkward. You've got to fish them out, and they're a bit awkward, and they're a bit crushed in, and it's, don't know, not that happy with it. It's not what I wanted, but as you can see, I'm so tight for the space that I was trying to do. I didn't have an option. If I wanted to make these into separate pieces, separate boxes, in just the nature of how the pieces are and the numbers and their shapes, the box would have to come up quite a lot in order to accommodate that, and it would have thus made loads of empty space in there. By creating enough space to put these in, I'll get a whole load of extra empty space, and then the box will be getting deeper. And if the box gets deeper, what's the point of making it? Because you're not, the whole point, well, the main point is to save on shelf space. That's the main point. Secondary point is to make the gameplay easier. So I went with that. So I had to choose, do I want to make it more comfortable for the setup or make it better for storage? And after thinking about a bit, I decided to go for the storage solution, because that is the most pressing thing. And this actually isn't that much of a pain in the arse. No more of a pain in the arse than it is with them in a baggie, and you've got to open a baggie. It's alright. The money, that's alright, fits in there. I don't quite know how that's going to work in a game. I haven't played with it, you know, made this yesterday. I haven't played with it yet. You might just find that the money ends up being spilled all over the table and you just put them in there, and you know, when you finish. But maybe people will take and put them back in there. Don't know. Don't know, do I? Just don't know. Anyway, so that's that. Now, then we got these. So these, you know, you'll take this out. These are going to be on the table and you're going to be using them. Now these ones, these are just practical boxes. These are your working man boxes. So these are just purely storage. You're not going to have these out on the table because you've got to take these letters out to shuffle them. You've got to take these bits out to shuffle them. You've got to take the cards out to shuffle them. So, you know, you're going to probably take these out of the boxes and have them on the table anyway. You could put them back in here and have them for a bit of tidiness, but it's just a practical box. You know, I mean, it's a bit of a weak box. It's only made out of single 2mm grade board. Normally I'd make them out of double thickness to make them stronger. But and then these cards, awkwardness again, because I'm tight for space. I didn't have enough room to get these cards in there that way, so I put a little sloping bit in here to make it easy for the cards to be got out and when they're in, you know. Oh, I got right dodgy knee, I tell you. Right, so that's just a real practical thing, but at least I've got all the expansion bits in one little box for the letters and seals, which is quite nice. And a very similar thing happening here, a little box. This is the mocha. I keep calling it mocha, I don't know why. Rock the mocha and bakshish. I'm not a coffee man myself, I drink cups of tea. So there's not much to this expansion, is there? They've probably made a whole new box, massive box for this expansion. Sure, there's, you know, 5 tiles, but look, that's it. But now this was an awkward one. Again, stuck for space. So I've had to put this little window in here so I can get the cards out. But again, it's a bit of a two-handed operation. It's a bit of a faff. It's a bit of a faff. So it's not ideal for that. But you know, I only had this little space to get all this stuff in. That's all I had. And then in here, I've got the coffee trade or whatever it is, and the tiles. These tiles. I would have liked these tiles really to have been in a similar situation like this, where you can just put the thing out, and the tiles are all there, ready to be used. But unfortunately, I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Not enough space. Not enough. I could have done it if I made the box bigger, but it was really awkward. I'll talk about all that later. I'm just showing you the box. I've got to remember, I'm just showing you the box. I'll talk about it all later. And then I've got all the coffee bits in here shoved in there, which is really awkward because they're really at their limit of the height in order to get it in. So that is the Istanbul box. I really like it. My box making has gone up a level recently. I mentioned it in the Thieves video, but I'll mention it here because it's still new. I used to make the box like this, cover it in brown paper and paint it, and that caused me all kinds of problems when I painted it. So now I'm just using thick black paper, and it makes all the opening and closing of the boxes so much easier. It's got rid of that warping of the lid. I'll talk about that later. So that is Istanbul, the big box. Even though it doesn't look like the big box, this is the big box. Fabulous. Right, go away now, all you people who just want to see the box, which is nobody. Anyone wants to see me talk about design aspects, things like that, I'll just have a little bit of waffle. There's not much to waffle about. I mean, waffling is just a load of boring old rubbish, isn't it? What I'm saying, but what is there to say? So let's talk about some of the details of the box. So, a really hard box to make, this one. It's taken me a long time, awful long time. And all that time purely is in thinking of how to arrange these components. Really difficult. You've got so many different bits of components. They're all slightly different shapes. They're all slightly different sizes. I mean, you know, you've got your letters and seals bit here. And this, I mean, I don't even know what that goes on. But that's a different shape, which is a different shape and size ever so slightly to these, which are different shapes and sizes to these, which are different to the wheelbarrows, which is different to this, which is, you know, every piece is different. So it's really hard to kind of make any kind of consistencies. You know, you can't just think, oh, I'll do the thing this wide and all these tiles are going to fit in it, because it's just not like that. The only thing that was easy in terms of its shape and size were the you know, the board pieces. But the board pieces gave me so much trouble, because ideally I would have wanted the letters and seals boards to go with the letters and seals pieces, so it was all in one unit. So if you want to play letters and seals, you can just take the letters and seals out and you've got all the pieces and all the tiles. Same with the mocha expansion. And I tried to do that, but it was just impossible. It was just, didn't half wreck my head. Really wrecked my head. I mean, I first started working on this 6 months ago. And yeah, sure, work and things got in the way. I've only just got back to it, but yeah, really difficult. But end of the day, really good. What really helped was having this. You know, like again, I'm making just standard size. So I've got 3-4 standard size boxes. This is my A4 Euro kind of size box. So I made this, which is this has changed it all. This is just that's set to my standard size, and I can work out exactly how everything's going inside here, and it really helps. Before I used to kind of have the rule book and I'd place bits on the rule book, and it's very hard to get things work things out accurately, but with this I can really work them out accurately. So hence you can see why it's so efficient here. But I did it. Now I've shown you all the good. Let's start off. I mean, you know, that's pretty, nothing much to say here really on that bit. Nothing there. There's a few things to say on this. This is great. I really like, you know, I'm getting really into this style of tray. You know, especially when you're having pieces that you're using on the table that normally just stand about, and you can just bring a tray out and they're all there. But this has got a few problems. Firstly, you know, they're all right, these things, but it's all a little bit tight. Everything was very tight. It was very, very tight for space. So these are a little bit tight. They're okay, but they're a little bit tight. And again with the cards, normally I'd want to put my cards in tuck boxes to protect them a bit better and stop them sort of floating around, and you know, they're just much better in tuck boxes. But I didn't have the room for these 3 sets of cards in the 3 tuck boxes. I just couldn't get them to go. You can see even with this one, you know, because I didn't have the room to get the cards in. I've had to put them in an odd position. You know, I could have stood them up on end, the tuck boxes, but then it's just adding more height. Would have added more height to it, but it wouldn't have added enough height, so I could then sort out other problems like my playing pieces that I talked about, to get them in separate boxes. So yeah, God, I spent so long. The worst bit about this tray is this little bit here with these dice and cubes in, where, you know, I hadn't planned this. I made all this bit, and there was this bit left, and I thought, oh, you know, I could get something in there. And the dice and these cubes for the post office or whatever it is just fitted perfectly. So I put them in there, but they're actually a real pain to get out. A real pain. So I need to put some kind of pull out. You know, I can get them out here. Just, you know, if I can get the cubes out, then I can get the dice out. So it's all right, but it doesn't satisfy my fussy nature. I mean, I could just chuck them in with the money or something, because you need them every time you play. You bung them in one of these other things. What a fuss pants. Only fuss pants would care about that. Let's have a look on this one. This one, again, you can see with this one, this is all doubled up grey balls, so all these bars are 4mm, because they need to be strong when you make these things. This thing, it's only single, so it's quite a thin, it's all quite thin, so that's why I've covered it in paper, to try and give it a bit more integral strength. So that's right, but I didn't. These are also thin, but I didn't cover these in paper because I'm so tight for room. I think if I covered these in paper, they're going to be tough to fit in. And there's not a lot of play there, and it'll all get too tight. So I did it for this because you're going to use this every game. This is coming out every game. They're not going to come out every game. Not a lot, much more to say about that really. Not a lot in there. The rulebook here is a bit of a pain. This was a design feature I had to think about, because normally you'd have a board that can hold all the pieces in play. Wait, so I haven't actually done the shake test on this. This is important. Now let's see if that works, because maybe pieces have gone everywhere. No, shake test is great. So I had to use the rule book in order to stop the pieces coming out. It's not as good as a board. I did consider putting a whole sheet of grey board across the whole top, which is maybe what I should have done, but it's just another awkward bit. But the rules are they're a bit sort of fluffy, and when you really press it down, it's perfectly flush to the top, but I maybe should have given it a little bit more. And then getting this little stop bit, it's a bit... It's not great. Not great. But every box has got some problems. I haven't made a perfect box. My Thebes box that I made is pretty damn good. The lid, there's a lot to do with the lid. You know, as you say, using the big box. Now, using the big box, I would have really struggled to get those graphics by cutting this up. Really struggled to have got this on. It just, you know, I might have, you know, been able to get that on, but this bit's all sticking out over the edge, and I don't think that looks very nice, to be honest. That looks much nicer, much nicer than this. I don't know. Awkward. But thankfully, I spent a lot of time thinking about the height of the box in order to accommodate be able to get the Istanbul on. But then this has got this, which is nice when it's on the bookshelf. It's a pain in the arse when you're trying to make boxes and reduce the height, because I couldn't get that on. And yeah, I gave a lot of consideration as to will I be able to get these side graphics on, and how am I going to do it. I cut up the bottom of the box to get these side graphics, and you know, they're not perfect by any means. You know, when you look at here, you know, you don't notice it from a distance, but you look here and it's the tops and the ends are just all slightly cut off, and it's all just a bit crushed in there. And then when you look on this one again, it's all a bit crushed, but here I've just stuck on some stickers that were not stickers, but they're from this printout sheet, so it's paper rather than card, and stuck it over, because you had a real awkward bit, because this is where underneath is where the Pegasus spiel thing started, where I cut it, and it just looked awful, so I had to stick something over it. So that's rubbish. That's the worst thing about the box. But if the worst thing about the box is a little sticker on the side, I'm doing alright. That looks alright. It's come out lovely. Is there anything else to say about the Istanbul box? I don't think there is. We'll just quickly have a look, see if I can think of anything that might come to mind. No. What a great box. I love it. Every new box I make is my new favourite. Thank you very much for watching MATTO'S Box Mania, the most exciting thing in the world. Au revoir. Until next time.